Dad log, stardate 01292021. Welcome back to the Dad Logs Revisited, where today we're going to talk about learning the ins and outs of content creation and how you should always be learning. Stay tuned. Today, ladies and gentlemen of the Legion, I want to talk to you about learning. We're talking about learning the ins and outs of streaming. We're talking about learning about hardware, software, efficiency, automation, all of the things that go into being a content creator and everything that you need to learn as a content creator to take your content to that next level. So we're going to talk about all of it today. The first thing that I want to cover with you guys is learning the ins and outs of streaming. Now, this is going to vary from person to person. You're going to talk to one person and they're going to say, this is the most important thing to learn. And you're going to talk to that person and say, this is the most important thing to learn. The interesting thing about streaming is that there's a lot to learn. When you start to run your own business, when you start streaming, there are many, many, many things that you could learn. I think the first and probably most important thing that you're going to have to learn is how to go live. Equally as important is going to be where to go live. Since Mixer shut its doors about 6 months ago, almost 8 months ago now, there are only a few places where if you're doing video game live streaming, you're going to probably look at streaming. One is going to be Twitch. Twitch is the king of the hill, the big dog on top of the live streaming world. Amazon owns Twitch, and most devices that you're going to stream from support streaming to Twitch. Another is YouTube. YouTube has started to invest heavily into the streaming space. They've picked up big streamers like Courage JD and a few others that have gone from streaming on Twitch to streaming full-time on YouTube, in addition to doing curated YouTube content. And then the third most prominent place to stream is Facebook gaming. So Facebook recently picked up the contracts for former Mixer partners. They are investing heavily in the live streaming space, specifically around gaming. And so they are definitely a platform to look at when you consider where you are going to live stream your video game content. The first and foremost thing that you need to do is pick a live streaming platform. My recommendation is it doesn't really matter where you stream when you first start. You are going to learn a great many things about the actual production of creating a live stream and creating a show, that it doesn't really matter where you are going to stream. That being said, Twitch is a good place to start. Not from a growth standpoint, not from a marketing standpoint, but just because of the tooling. Twitch has been around the absolute longest. Almost every single device on the planet supports streaming, live streaming to Twitch. You can stream directly from console. You can set up a laptop, a desktop. You can use OBS Studio. You could use Streamlabs OBS. You could use XSplit or any of the live streaming software that is available today to stream to Twitch. It has the greatest amount of tools and extensions to support creating an engaging live stream experience. And it's just the most widely supported live streaming platform on the planet. So as far as the go live button is concerned, my recommendation would be to start on Twitch to get the basics under your belt, right? If you're streaming directly from a console, there's integration direct from both the PS5 and the Xbox. You can do direct stream to, and there are many different overlay platforms that can allow you to actually spruce up a direct from console live stream so you can add a little bit of overall broadcast and production quality. First thing is to learn how to hit the go live button. Now, I'm not going to dive into what that looks like. There are many, many, many tutorials out there for how to actually start going live. Something that I've noticed is that when people come into my stream and they're asking about stream tips, they're asked, how do I get started live streaming? The first question I almost always ask them is, have you hit the go live button yet? And there's a reason why I ask them that question. I ask them that because that's the first step to creating content, to being a streamer. It's worth noting that anybody this day and age can be a streamer. Now, whether or not you see success is a completely different story, and I believe that that is tied directly to the amount of learning that you choose to do. So if you are not learning everything that you can about your craft, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So prepare to do a lot of learning when it comes to streaming. So if you're having a hard time hitting the go live button, hit YouTube, hit Google, search how to go live on any of those platforms, and you will find umpteen tutorials about how to get yourself live. That's the first thing that every broadcaster should actually worry about. Now, it's very easy to get wrapped up, and this takes us to our next topic, hardware research. This is where a lot of people get wrapped up. I got to have this and I got to have that. You don't have to have anything but a console. Now, is your broadcast quality going to be great? No, but at least you're getting started. And that's the second thing that I always urge people to do when they start streaming. Don't spend any money for 90 days. Use what you have. Almost everyone has a headset with a microphone built into it and a console. That's literally all you need to get started streaming. But a lot of people, what they end up doing is they go from stream to stream to stream. What kind of microphone do you have? What are you using for your camera? What kind of this, that, or the other thing do you have? This is where it gets dicey. A lot of people start doing hardware research, and that cost starts to add up. And you can buy all of the equipment in the world. You could buy all the hardware you could ever possibly dream of. But if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't matter. Let me repeat that for the folks in the back. If you don't know how to use your hardware, it doesn't matter. So you can go out and you can blow $10,000 on a setup. Do you know how to use any of it? A word of caution when you're doing hardware research. It's great to learn more about all of the hardware that is available to you as a broadcaster. As someone who has been doing this now for almost 4 years, I have an abundance of hardware that I use on a daily basis to bring you guys the absolute best content that I can. But it took me not just the 4 years that I've been streaming, but the years leading up to my streaming to learn how to use that equipment. I'll give you an example. I was in a band for 7 years. I ran our recording rig for most of those 7 years. When we would record our practices or attempt to record our albums, I ran the rig. So I learned a heck of a lot about how to use inputs and outputs, hardware equalizers, hardware compressors, how to get sound in, how to get sound out, connectivity options, cabling, all of the things that go into, and that's just on the audio side. What's the difference between a dynamic microphone and a condenser microphone? There's a lot of hardware research that you can do, and hardware research can be fun. Don't get me wrong. Your eyes light up and you're like, ooh, I can get a new toy. But I would caution you that when you're doing hardware research, don't just dive into the first thing that Joe Blow on the corner or that Dad Got Game told you to buy because that's what they use. Because that might not be the right equipment for you where you're at in your journey. So it's very, very important that when you're doing research for hardware, that you don't get sucked into the I gotta have this or I gotta have that, because if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to matter. Start slow, pick up only the hardware you absolutely need if you do decide to invest in this hobby. Do not, I repeat, do not go out and blow a bunch of money before you ever hit the go live button, because there's a 80% chance that within the first 3 months, you're just gonna set it aside and you wasted all that money. Okay? When you're doing hardware research, how should you go about it? Well, the first place to start is Google and YouTube. Every bit of hardware that I have ever purchased has come from one of a few places. And it's after I've done my research on why I would want to buy said hardware. I'll give you an example. Rode NT1, the microphone that I use. I spent probably 20 or 30 hours looking at microphones that were in this price range at the time that I bought it. And again, I bought this probably 2.5 years ago, and I have not done anything. I have considered swapping this microphone, but this microphone works really well. And when I did my research, I was researching because I knew that I was going to be not just streaming, but I was going to be singing and playing guitar into this microphone. And so I was looking for a solution that allowed me to not just broadcast and have a really good quality audio for speaking, but also I could have really good quality audio for singing and playing guitar at the same time with a single microphone to pick up me singing and playing guitar. So I spent 20 or 30 hours researching which microphone made the most sense in the budget that I had been looking at the time. Now, let's talk about priorities in hardware. First and foremost, the first thing that you should absolutely, if you're going to upgrade anything, is upgrade your audio. You're going to hear everybody and their brother who gives stream tips to anybody tell you to upgrade your audio, because there's nothing worse than going into someone's live stream and they're yelling and hooting and hollering and it's blowing your eardrums out because they have no compression. They have a crappy headset microphone and they're just blowing your ears out. People will run away faster than you can blink if you have really crappy audio. So if you're looking at upgrading any hardware first, audio is where you want to spend your money. Okay. Again, I don't recommend that you spend money in the first 90 days, but if you're going to, do it with audio. There are a lot of options out there that are USB based options for your microphone that are fantastic. Elgato's got the Wavelink, Razor's got the Siren, Blue has got the Yeti, the Audio-Technica AT2020 is a fantastic option, and all of those are $150 or less. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there. Harris Heller has done, I don't know how many microphone showdowns to show you the different microphone options that are available in different price ranges and things along those lines. So if you're looking at upgrading anything from a hardware standpoint, first start with audio. Then I would look at potentially a camera, but don't forget that with a camera, the most important part of a camera isn't the actual camera, it's the lighting that goes along with the camera. So you're going to want to start to do research on lighting setups that go well with certain camera setups. If you're going to run a webcam, you can do the live streamer from AverMedia, or you can do the Logitech C920 is a go-to for so many people when they first start. That's what I started with. That's what many people start with. So when you're doing your hardware research, again, hardware research can be fun. Don't go overboard. Always set your budget first, and then make sure that you're also researching the auxiliary stuff that you're going to need to run your hardware. As I mentioned, the Elgato Wavelink has got a software component to it. So let's dive into software research. When you're looking at software, there is an overwhelming amount of software that is available for you to use as a broadcaster. The first place that I'd start, if you're looking at software, this usually means if you're looking at software, you've made it past the I'm streaming from a console phase. There's very limited tooling that's available if you're going direct from console from a software standpoint. So if you're past that streaming directly from my console and you're starting to look at software, the first thing that you probably have to make a decision on is, am I going with OBS Studio? Am I going with Streamlabs OBS? Or am I going with XSplit? Those are the three primary streaming softwares that are available to you if you are running and streaming from, say, a desktop computer or a laptop computer. So you have to make a decision between OBS, Streamlabs OBS, and XSplit. Those are the three primary ones. Now, all of the capture card companies have their own version as well. AverMedia's got Rec Central. Elgato has their own capture utility that allows you to live stream using that capture utility. I have found that software, generally speaking, is extremely limited in function. It is going to limit you from an expansion and extension standpoint. I wouldn't recommend streaming from them. OBS Studio, Streamlabs OBS are all free. XSplit had a free version at one point. I haven't looked at XSplit in a while, but XSplit is a paid option. You also get a premium support option with XSplit. So if that's a route that you want to go and you want to spend the money, go for it. But I've used both Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio and a trial version of XSplit. Personally, I use OBS Studio. It's got the most extensions available. The YouTube tutorials that are available are staggering. It's got the most documentation out there. Anything you could possibly want to do, you could probably find on YouTube when it comes to OBS Studio. My first and foremost thing I would recommend is picking what capture software you are going to use, OBS Studio, Streamlabs OBS, or XSplit. And then from there, it's what do you want to do to make your live stream awesome? The next best thing to research is probably going to be a bot. If you're not familiar with a bot is something that can allow you to run commands. It can allow you to do currencies. I only use two bots. One is Stream Elements bot, and I use those for basic commands. I don't really do much else with Stream Elements bots other than basic commands and a little bit of moderation. The other bot that I use is Mix It Up bot. I've been using it since my days on Mixer. It is a top tier local chat bot, and it is a fantastic option when it comes to anything from having an in-stream currency to doing really cool overlay things where chat can use channel points to make things come up on your screen and pop up on your screen. It does everything. So if you're going to do bot research, there's a few main ones out there. There's web-based bots, and then there's local bots. Local bots are obviously going to take some system resources. You're going to want to beef your computer if you're going to be running a local bot and your streaming software and potentially web browser, Discord, other things on it. That goes back into a little bit into the hardware research, but the more software you add to your overall production value, the more hardware you're going to need to run it, the higher your PC specs are going to have to be. So keep that in mind that software, a lot of it is free, but it can be very easy to overwhelm your system resources. If you're going to just put software on software on software on software, you're going to run out of hardware resources eventually. So you kind of have to be careful and pick and choose what you're going to run. Web-based bots, Nightbot, Stream Elements, Streamlabs, Beatbot. There's a few other ones out there, but Nightbot is probably the most popular one. That's the one that has been around the longest, but it's also the simplest. You don't get a lot with Nightbot besides moderation, chat commands, etc., etc. When you look at potentially running a web-based bot versus running a local bot, web-based bots generally are not as flexible as a local bot. You're not going to have as much customization options. You're not going to have as much available to you to really take your production level to that next tier when you're running just web-based bots. But web-based bots are a fantastic place to start if you're just getting going. So if you are a brand new streamer, I would highly recommend looking at Nightbot. I would highly recommend looking at Stream Elements. Stream Elements specifically because they not just have a web-based bot, but they also have web-based overlays where you can add a simple browser source and you can get a bunch of different information all pre-integrated and pre-set up using the Stream Elements overlays. So software research can take you down the rabbit hole. I would encourage you to make sure that you are doing ample research, but if you're going to start anywhere, start with your streaming tools, OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS, and then move into bot work. And from there, the possibilities are endless. What do you want to do with your production? What do you want to do to create more content? What do you want to do to take your production level to the next tier? There's a lot out there to learn. So something that I want to cover next is efficiency in your creation process and also automation. Automation is fantastic when it is used right, but you see a lot of people who, in my opinion, use automation wrong. I'll give you an example. I can't stand seeing someone who hit the go live button and they have an automatic tweet that goes out. And you'll notice that on their Twitter, it's the same tweet over and over and over and over and over and over again. First off, that doesn't look great from a PR standpoint. That shows a lack of creativity, in my opinion. And two, every single person here has a phone. How hard is it to take a selfie, to come up with a creative little catchy whatever for Twitter, and then post that you're live? Take the extra time. It's It's 5 minutes. Take the extra time, take a picture or a video or something and post it on Twitter with a catchy little catchphrase in your URL. I highly recommend against automation when it comes to tweeting because it feels very impersonal. It becomes the same repetitive thing over and over and over, and it doesn't look great on your Twitter profile. There are some folks that say you should delete all your going live tweets after, say, 2 hours or 4 hours. I don't personally do that because I don't feel like it's necessarily a great use of my time. But there are people who say from an analytics standpoint, it's probably better to just delete those tweets. As far as going live tweets, I would highly recommend against automation. Now, that being said, automating a Discord message that gets populated in your Discord when you go live, totally fine in my book. Something I do on a regular basis. I hit the go live button and I automate. I have a lot of automation on my Stream Deck, and we're going to talk about the Stream Deck in a little bit. But as far as Discord messages or things along those lines, automating that stuff is absolutely fine. When it comes to automating using the Stream Deck, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but it's probably best in class in terms of automating your going live, your ending your stream, and doing advanced things like when I run a giveaway, right? I've got some automation on my Stream Deck where I hit one button that will change the scene, that will populate the giveaway. There's a timer on it so that it switches back after the giveaway is done. I've also automated even to the point where I know I'm going to BRB. I'll hit the BRB button and it'll switch the scene, run a giveaway in 2 minutes, go to the BRB screen, run my channel promo for my merchandise, and then run an ad. There's a lot of things that when you start looking at specifically the Elgato Stream Deck that you can start to do that can take your production quality to the next level. I know a guy, his name is Dan Drumstone. He's a fantastic musician on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dan Drumstone. His automation is absolutely spectacular. Now, he's been in the game for a very long time. He uses a Stream Deck to switch between 4 moving cameras. Because he's a drummer, and that's his primary content creation, because he's a drummer, when he's drumming, he switches between 4 rotating cameras, and he's got them on timers so that it switches, and it's one button on the Stream Deck. So as far as automation goes, you absolutely can leverage automation for your benefit. But when it comes to automating things like engagement, especially when it comes to Twitter, don't do it. I've seen content creators who use Twitter automation tools to say, I lost this many followers and gained this many followers today. And it tweets that every single day. Don't do that. That doesn't add any value to your Twitter timeline. That doesn't add any value to the followers who follow you on Twitter to either engage you in conversation or because you make funny content. So there are some fantastic automation tools out there, and there are some not so fantastic automation tools. There are a few times where I use, it's not really automation tooling, but it's efficiency tooling. Something like Hootsuite. Hootsuite.com is a suite of tools that allows you to basically put together social media posts if you want to publish to multiple platforms at the same time. So for instance, I've got a partnership announcement that I'm going to make, or we're going to be doing a charity marathon. I want that out on every platform that I possibly can. I would use a tool like Hootsuite.com where I can curate a post that has basically the same information in it, and I want it to go out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter all at the same time. I would use an efficiency suite like Hootsuite.com. You can use things like Buffer.io. There's a few other automation ones out there, but I use Hootsuite generally speaking. And it's a good way to be efficient. And instead of creating on your phone, creating all the posts at the same time, you can actually schedule posts to go live at certain times. And you can also schedule them to go live on the different platforms. So you're not going from platform to platform to platform trying to post these things. So when you're looking at efficiency in your creation process, always look at creating processes that are repeatable and that will reduce the amount of time that you spend recreating the wheel. The last thing that you want to do as a content creator is recreate the wheel over and over and over and over again. So I'll give you an example. I created dad jokes in the channel. I actually put together a template in Premiere, in Adobe Premiere, that allows me to take the little dad joke snippets that I did, and I recorded them all in OBS. Then I popped that one recording into Premiere. Now I'm going to be using the dad jokes in multiple different ways. In the stream, social posts, going live posts. There's various different ways that I did it. So what I did is when I export, I cut them up into little snippets. And so I have each dad joke is individualized in my timeline. When I export that, I can export that raw as just the dad joke. But then I've also got an export that puts the dad joke overlay over the top. And when I export raw, I can actually convert for different social media platforms using Adobe Media Encoder. For instance, Twitter takes 720p and can't be above 15 megabytes or something like that. I don't remember what the particular limit is in terms of size, but you're looking at 720p for that. You're looking at Instagram's got a different format. They run a square format. TikTok's got a different format. They're running reverse landscape, right? They're running portrait landscape on the phones. So when you look at efficiency in creation, you want to take the same piece of content and you want to morph it for all the different things. You want to look at something like Adobe Media Encoder, which allows you to reformat things in the right format and potentially limit the amount of time that you spend touching the same piece of content multiple times to reformat it in a way that makes sense. So these are the types of tools that you want to look into when you start talking efficiency and automation in your creation. You want to look into potentially putting in a little extra time up front to create something that's repeatable over time so that you're not recreating the wheel every single time you want to create a piece of content. You've got some sort of template that you can use, or you've got some sort of tooling that you can use to be more efficient in your content creation. The last thing that I want to cover as part of the learning episode for the Dad Logs Revisited is finding a mentor and connecting with other creators. Now, part of what I'm going to cover in future episodes as well is obviously the whole networking side of content creation. And networking gets a bad rap, right? A lot of people do networking completely wrong, and they actually hurt themselves more than they help when it comes to connecting with other creators. Something that I did early on in my content creation career was engage with creators who have been in the space for a very long time. I'll give you two examples. One, I shot my shot with Professor Broman. He had just started recently his Ask Broman podcast. It was a live call-in show where if he wasn't interviewing someone in the creation space, he was actually pulling people in from Discord and letting them ask questions about content creation. I went in there actually multiple times and chatted with someone who, for all intents and purposes, is a pioneer in the space. He has been in it for a very long time. He knows who's who in the space. He knows how to do it well. He's one of the biggest creators on the planet. And the fact is that he has way more knowledge about content creation than I could have hoped to ever attain in my first 3.5 years of content creation. I think finding a mentor is super important. Now, was this a direct mentor relationship? No, I didn't have direct access to Broman other than through the Ask Broman podcast, which I was on for more than 3 times. If you guys aren't following Broman for whatever reason, you should make sure that you do that, because he not only puts out really engaging gaming content, but he also puts out a lot of engaging other content, including the Ask Broman podcast. So finding a mentor is super important. I'll give you another example. My boomstick. When I first moved to Mixer, my boomstick and Night Tide, both. And I'm gonna throw all of their links in the description below. So if you guys want to get connected with them, and I would highly recommend you do, make sure that you guys get connected with them, because they're awesome creators and they're good friends, and they offer a lot of value outside of just entertaining you for the evening. So I reached out to my boomstick early on and said, hey, I've got some questions about this content creation thing. You're doing this full time. Can we sit down and chat? He said, absolutely. And so we developed a friendship over time. And I still look at him as one of my mentors. He is someone who I connected with early on, who was willing to give his time to help me through and to help me navigate the space. So my recommendation to you is to find someone who can help you navigate this space. Now, if you're a very small creator, right? If you're just getting started, there are a few different ways that you can engage with bigger creators, more established creators, or full-time creators. One is engaging with them on Twitter. A lot of times, bigger creators will ask questions on Twitter about certain things. That is a great place to engage with other more established creators and to get insight about the process of creating content. Another way to do that is DMs. My DMs are always open. Now, can I take on everyone who DMs me and try and help them on an individual level? Not necessarily. Most of the time, I will be able to say, hey, look at this video or look at here for this information, or if you're struggling with something, here's the best place to go for it, right? Doing one-on-one help can be very, very difficult. I enjoy doing that. I actually use shotcall.gg to set up times where I do consulting with people who want to learn more about creating content. So if that's something that you're interested, shotcall.gg/dad.game would be a fantastic place to go out and schedule a one-on-one session with me to do some consulting. Point being is check and see if their DMs are open and if they'd be willing to engage in some sort of mentorship option. Visiting streams, especially when there's just chatting going on and they're just chatting about streaming, is a fantastic way to engage with people about streaming content. I'm always open to answer questions in the chat. However, here's my word of caution when it comes to engaging with people in their live stream while they're trying to entertain their audience. If you come in and the first thing you do is start asking questions about getting started streaming and you have no established relationship with that person, you've never viewed them, you don't even follow them, you're not sub to them, whatever the case might be, and you have zero established relationship with them, that is how you network wrong. And that is how you find a mentor in the wrong way. That's the quickest way to get booted out of someone's chat. So if you're looking at someone and you're like, okay, this person knows what they're doing, they've established an audience, they're an established creator, they're a full-time creator, get to know the person. Spend some hours in the chat, follow the channel, get to know them before you just cold call them and say, hey, I've got questions. Unless they're doing an open question session or a Q&A session about content creation, you want to make sure that you're not coming in and just barging in and talking about your content creation journey before you establish that relationship. So the most important thing about finding a mentor is establishing a relationship that isn't self-serving right off the rip. What's the best way to establish a relationship with someone? Talk to them about something that's not content creation related. Now, a lot of us are passionate about content creation. We love it and we love talking about it. But I would rather get to know you on a personal level and know that you're here to support me because you enjoy my content, not because you want something from me. So when you're looking to establish a relationship with a mentor, bring some value to the person you'd like to get value from. And that's how you can establish a relationship with someone who can be your mentor. The last thing that I want to cover when it comes to learning is learning how to be an entertainer. Now, this is going to look different for every single person who decides to hit the go live button. No two people are alike. Everyone has their quirks. Everyone has what makes them unique. And the most important thing when it comes to being an entertainer is finding what makes you unique and doubling and tripling down on it. Something that makes me unique. And this isn't 100% because there are plenty of fathers, gamers, streamers out there. So Dad Got Game in and of itself, the name and the brand, while strong, isn't 100% unique. What makes me unique as a broadcaster is my life experience. I have worked in corporate America. I was in a band for 7 years. I have done everything from paintballing to traveling to watching every Marvel movie on the face of the planet to understanding what it's like to feel like you don't belong. Now, when I established my stream, one of the most important things that I recognized early on were that gamers were some of the loneliest people on the planet. And I wanted to do something about that. I wanted to give people a place to belong, and I didn't care if you were gay or straight, male or female, black, white, red, yellow, whatever. I wanted to give people a place to belong. So I built my entertainment value around that. I built my entertainment value around the fact that I was, for some people, the only father figure they had. So I am Dad Got Game, purveyor of a community and a place to belong, father, follower of Christ, husband, streamer, and putting all of that together into a brand and a community and a space is what makes me unique. And so when it comes to becoming an entertainer, just sitting down and playing a video game like you would any other night isn't going to make you any different than 75% of the people who hit the go live button every night. If the only thing you're doing is this, and you're not talking, and you're ignoring chat, and you're just focused on the game, and you're not even particularly good at the game, you're not going to see growth. That's not entertainment. That's boring. And so when it comes to being an entertainer, you need to find what makes you unique, and you need to triple down on it. I focused hard on making sure that I never miss a chat. Now it happens sometimes, right? I have a tendency, I can get focus faced. I can focus on the game that we're doing, or I can zone out because I'm just exhausted because the kid was up at 3 a.m. crying again, or I'm just exhausted because I was up until 1:30 a.m. working on overlays. And I woke up at 6:30 because the kids were up and we had to get them ready for school. So I have my moments where someone might come in and I lose out on that opportunity to entertain them and to, frankly, make them a regular. So when it comes to becoming an entertainer, there's a process of learning how to be entertaining from your unique standpoint. That's probably one of the most important things that you're going to learn. And the only way you can learn it is by doing it. The only way that you can learn to truly be the entertainer that you were meant to be is to hit the go live button and to do it consistently. Now, you can absolutely watch other people to get ideas for ways that you can engage with your audience. If I said that everything that I do in my channel is unique to me and I came up with it on my own, that would be a lie. The fact of the matter is that I spent the better part of a year, 8 hours a day having streams up, watching how other people engaged with their chat. What made them really funny, or made them a really good entertainer, or made me want to come back day after day and watch them. And I learned from that. And then I applied that to my own stream. And I took things that other people were doing and I morphed it into something that I then did as an entertainer. So when it comes to being an entertainer, you need to make sure first and foremost that you understand what makes you unique, that you harness what makes you unique, and that you triple down on it, and then build the infrastructure and the things that make your broadcast unique, build it around those ideas and those items, and now you've got a recipe for success. Thank you so much for watching this Dad Log Revisited, episode number 4, where we talked about being a consummate learner. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you like, subscribe, ding the notification bell for the next upload, which is going to happen next Friday, and for the next 4 weeks when we revisit the Dad Logs. If you haven't checked out the old Dad Logs, the playlist is somewhere up here. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a comment below on what you enjoyed or what you learned and what you want to see next. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with be life, be love. And as always, God bless and good games. We'll see you guys next time.